к месту действия готов.
Командир, правильно с набора.
Набор веет.
Командир, расчет. Гол.
Есть вот, приказ ведем.
Victory Day 2026 had barely ended. The tanks were already rolling back to their bases. The fighter jets had disappeared from the skies above Moscow. And for a moment, the world thought the show was over. But just days later, Russia made the world stop and watch again. A massive missile suddenly launched into the northern sky. Not an Iskander, not a Caliber, not even a Kinjal. This was the RS-28 Sarmat, the intercontinental ballistic missile the West calls Satan II. And the moment footage of the launch started spreading online, NATO began watching closely. Western media lit up. Military telegram channels exploded with speculation. Because everyone understands one thing: when Russia launches a Sarmat, it's never just another routine test. According to multiple reports, the launch took place on May 12, 2026, at around 11:15 a.m. Moscow time. The missile was launched from the Plesetsk Cosmodrome, one of Russia's key strategic launch facilities used for long-range missile testing. And shortly after the launch, official footage began circulating online. The silo doors slowly opened. Then, seconds later, the massive missile erupted upward with an enormous column of fire. And that's when people realized Russia wanted the world to see this. Because launches like these don't always need public attention, but this time was different. The footage was released, shared everywhere, repeated non-stop across media and social platforms. And psychologically, the impact was immediate. For those who haven't followed Russia's strategic weapons programs closely, the Sarmat is essentially the next generation of Russia's heavy nuclear missile force, a successor to the giant Soviet-era systems, but far more modern, far more advanced, and potentially much harder to stop. Russia claims the missile can carry multiple nuclear warheads at once, with true intercontinental range, meaning targets across Europe and even the United States would theoretically fall within reach. But what worries Western defense planners most isn't just the payload, it's the missile's ability to bypass modern missile defense systems. Because in modern strategic warfare, the most dangerous missile isn't necessarily the biggest one, it's the one you can't intercept. And right now, Russia appears determined to prove it still dominates that part of the equation. Now the obvious question: was this an actual attack? No. This was a test launch. The missile was directed toward Russia's Kura testing range in Kamchatka, not toward a real combat target. And there's no indication the missile carried a live nuclear warhead. But even as a test, the message was powerful, because the timing feels almost too perfect to ignore. Victory Day had just ended. Global attention was still locked onto Russia. And suddenly, Sarmat launches into the sky, almost as if Moscow was saying, "The parade is over. Now look at our strategic capabilities." And honestly, Russia is aggressively modernizing its nuclear arsenal right now. Many Soviet-era systems are aging out, which is why Moscow has accelerated development of systems like Sarmat, Yars, Avangard, and newer hypersonic weapons. And systems like these require constant testing. But there's also a much bigger reason behind it all: geopolitics. The war in Ukraine changed everything. Relations between Russia and NATO are now at their most dangerous point in decades. And under growing Western pressure, Russia appears determined to make one thing absolutely clear: its strategic deterrence remains intact. Western sanctions have not stopped its military modernization, and Russia still possesses nuclear systems capable of forcing the entire world to pay attention. So how did the West react? Interestingly, publicly, both NATO and the United States remained relatively calm. The Pentagon stated they monitored the launch from the beginning and saw no indication of an imminent threat to NATO territory. But behind closed doors, there's no chance they ignored this, because every Sarmat launch provides valuable new data on missile speed, flight trajectory, warhead deployment capability, and Russia's operational readiness, which is exactly why Western intelligence agencies watch these tests so carefully. Meanwhile, Ukraine described the launch as psychological pressure and strategic messaging from the Kremlin. Because since the war began, Russia has repeatedly used demonstrations of strategic force to pressure the West politically. But in many ways, this is exactly why Russia remains such a major military power today, not simply because of the size of its arsenal, but because it continues maintaining strategic deterrence despite enormous global pressure. And Sarmat has now become a symbol of that. A symbol that Russia can still build weapons powerful enough to make the world stop and pay attention, even with a single launch. Now the question is, was this truly just another routine missile test, or was Russia sending a much larger message to NATO and the West? Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and if you enjoy geopolitical and military analysis like this, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications, because the global situation is changing fast, and launches like this could be signaling something much bigger ahead.